In 1978, Willie McNeve sat down to record his memories of one of the most remarkable experiences of his life, his involvement in the Easter Rising of 1916.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've taken the precaution of committing what I had to say to tape, so that if I wasn't able to say it to you in person, I could hand it to you in this instrument, in which you now hear my voice. Thank God for technology.
1916. All Ireland is ruled from London. Although the country has been promised Home Rule, the First World War and threats of violence have stalled all efforts to enact reforms passed in the British Parliament in London. Nationalists who seek a greater independence from the UK, and Unionists who don't, grow restless. Before the war, members of these groups had formed militias and armed themselves. Radical nationalist leaders emerge, amongst them Pearse, Connolly and the O'Rahilly. Conflict seems inevitable. A call goes out, an uprising to bring about independence. Most in Ireland disagree with the call to arms. However, hundreds of men and women are inspired to act. Among them, 19-year-old Willie McNeve.
Much has been spoken and written over the years about the rising of 1916. On Easter Monday, as we thought that everything was off, we decided to go to the Fairyhouse races. As we were strolling down O'Connell Street, with the intention of securing transport at the pillar, a hackney car with Barney Mellows aboard swept past us. Mellows recognised us and gave us a sweeping wave of "come on" with his hand. We therefore concluded that the show was going on, went back to our digs, got our arms, and hurried to Liberty Hall. We hadn't long to wait for the first bit of excitement. A company of the 5th Lancers, escorting some horse-drawn lorries laden with munitions from the North Wall, were approaching along the quays. The Lancers were merely acting as an escort and had no warlike intentions. Or how were we to know this? So, having made up our minds that this was it, we turned our faces to the wall, made an act of contrition, took up firing positions, and awaited orders to open fire. The order never came, and I might say, much to our relief.
All over Dublin, the rebels are swept up in the call to occupy public buildings. Armed with smuggled weapons, they focus their efforts on the city's communication hub, the GPO. Once inside, they begin an increasingly tense 6 days, soon under fire from the British outside. Willie McNeve finds himself at the heart of this conflict.
An order was now received to advance to the GPO. may say that it was in the course of this operation that I got one of the greatest thrills of my life. When I looked up, saw the tricolour of the Irish Republic floating over the GPO. I admit unashamedly that the sight brought tears to my eyes. During the evacuation of the GPO, I myself had a small adventure, which I think I should relate. When Pierce gave the order to retreat from the GPO, it was found that the only door giving access to Henry Street had been a long time in disuse, and therefore not openable. The order was therefore given to break it down. I was standing fairly close to the door when someone put their hand on my shoulder saying, "You and you, break down the door." I placed my Hoth rifle up against the wall, grabbed some heavy instrument, I can't recall what, and proceeded to assist in the smashing of the door. For my rifle, only to find that it had disappeared, and in its stead, a new German Mauser. I held up the rifle and waited for some minutes to see whether there was any claimant. There was none. I therefore moved out into Henry Street and across into the laneway opposite. As I entered the laneway, I found myself, more or less automatically, in a squad which was being lined up by the O'Rahilly, preparing for a charge into Moore Street, for the purpose of clearing that street of a British barricade. Reality dawned on me. I had a rifle without either ammunition or a bayonet, and a bayonet or the ammunition without the related rifle. The O'Rahilly fairly tumbled to my predicament and told me to fall out. Swiped my Hoth rifle and left me a German Mauser. In view of the rest is history.
6 days of fighting leaves Dublin in ruins. Over 450 people had been killed, and over 2,500 had been injured. The rebels surrender, and the city is placed under martial law by the British. It lasts for 6 months. Thousands of men and women are imprisoned. Willie McNeve is among them. He is charged with treason and released after 85 days. 15 rebel leaders, including Pearse and Connolly, are tried and executed. For many in Ireland, their deaths strengthen the case for independence. The legacy of the Easter Rising and its impact on the foundation of the Irish Free State in 1921 is still debated today. The voices of those, like Willie McNeve, who were there, help us to understand the importance of the events of 1916 to the Republic of Ireland and the UK. There are other voices to hear as well. To learn more, search BBC Voices 16.